Hey, shalom, shalom. Want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to our apostles, who are elders, who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. This is Ra'ab Amafa, the Nebraska camp. This is GMS, and he pushed to the mark. And he for Nebraska. But yeah, man. Let's going over Teman, man, of Edom. Okay, Teman today are your today's Germanic tribe. All right, just like the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in sections make up the 12 tribes. Esau has tribes as well that are written in the scriptures in today's time. Their tribes, those tribes go back to modern day Edomites. Okay. Amalek, we all know about Amalek. Okay. You got a couple other guys, but yeah, man. We're gonna go over Teman, the Germanic tribe, and nothing too much, but just some history on them. It ain't all that deep, so I don't want you to get at the edge, sit at the edge of your seat, but it's some informal things. Okay. So I want to start off in Jeremiah 49:7. It says, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Okay, because the reason why the scripture is brought out, because a lot of American science was brought through by Teman. Okay, through the World War. They had then took the Germanic scientists and made a lot of medical advances. They've made a lot of war weaponry advances. Okay, as you see in post-production, you see the two wing airplanes. I believe they're stealth bombers, or however you want to call it. I'm not too familiar with these type of aircrafts, but they're showing like America did something, when really it's just rebranding. That's all it is. Okay, because once you go back to eugenics, that goes back to Germany. Okay, goes back to Nazis. All right. And Project Paperclip. All right, those are German scientists. All right, and now I want you talking. The reason why I mention Nazis is because these are the people that Babylon, after that World War, they took them scientists, okay, and stole all the technology, and pretty much forced them to advance their technology. Okay, the MK Ultra, that was headlong by German scientists. Okay, Project Paperclip, German scientists. The medical field, a lot of things within the medical field, from the X-ray, because there was a lot of splinter ideas that stem from certain ideas, just like the X-ray. They used to use that as a skin bleaching concept. German scientists. All right. They even use it to get rid of hairs off the upper lip. Plutonium and other devices they used. Okay. And they mainly experimented on Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, specifically Judah. Okay. Specifically Judah. Judah was the main victim of this. Birth control pills, okay, contraceptives. All right, and it's very important to understand these things, man, because these people had no empathy towards Jake, man. So the development of a lot of these ideas, comes from Germany, man. All right, but here it is, Babylon. And his representation and his identity, like to perpetuate itself as the beacon of justice, fairness, equality. You know, you have, the citizens, as a king is, so is his people. They're trying to, end critical race theory, pretty much the going into of slavery and other historical accounts. And then you got niggas that will say, yeah, I'm getting tired. What I look like hearing about somebody beating the hell out of me. So you can know who your enemy is, dummy. Okay? You're trying to ignore a character trait in somebody that won't go away. Every fighter most fighters watch film, high-level fighters. Why? Because you got to study your opponent. Y'all don't want to go and watch film because it make you feel bad. You emotional ass nigga. Sit down and watch Roots. Sit down and watch Goodbye Uncle Tom. Go and do your history. Read the Willie Lynch letter. Because the things that were done in the past ain't nothing new under the sun. And you'll begin to understand. Just like when you go into the Planned Parenthood and you realize it's eugenics and it was for the genocide of Israelites to wipe them out. The whole concept of the food stamps and all that, and the man not able being able to be in the house, you'll realize, hey man, I need to stop messing with this stuff because it's not conducive to my people. It's actually a genocidal agenda. Okay? You will have some type of sense towards that. But those who don't know their history is doomed to repeat it. Because Jake loved trusting in Esau, and the scriptures tell you, trust not thy enemy, as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? So now Jake is trying to create concepts and ideas to retrust them again. Oh man, that's the past. Why are we going into something that happened to us and we are better people now? No, we're not. No, we're not. All right. At the end of the day, we're still at the bottom. At the end of the day. All right. At the end of the day, we're still at the bottom. Now, the bottom then may have been beaten and whippings. The bottom of the day is just economics. Okay. During the time of slavery, prisons wouldn't is packed. Okay? But now Jake is free, prisons is packed. What's the difference? All right? Jake still is being used for slave labor, man. Sharecropping is what they call it. No, that's slavery, man. And when you create a systematic oppression, like I had this Edomite some years back on social media, and I knew him personally, you know what I'm saying? And we fought together, we boxed and stuff, so I was saying something. That's when Jake was on social media, not being prudent, man. Just going over there posting radical shit. And that's another thing. Jake got to mind themselves with that shit, man. Ain't nothing on social media. It's like bringing a boombox to a library. Ain't nothing on social media. A nigga ain't trying to be edified. All right? If somebody's trying to be edified, they'll go and look it up. All this information on the internet. So what we're doing is groundbreaking, but what you're doing as an individual is not groundbreaking. You're not about to shake a nigga up because, nah, man, you're just swinging a sword of truth and you're just trying to hurt people. So, or you just, I don't know, just trying to show everybody what you got. Hit them highways, do your lessons, and let the Lord do the rest, But getting back to what, I was saying, he said, I told him, it's systematic oppression, dealing with the slavery and all that. And, he then says, he says he don't believe in that. And I was like, he probably, Esau tried to be cunning. What do you mean by systematic oppression? And you know what I'm saying? And reply with the red lining, what they do with the because they use their racism through economy now. All right, they through their policing. All right, just like the cocaine versus crack. All right, that's systematic oppression. All right, and I ain't gonna say if it's a fact or not, but no, I strongly believe Esau showed one of these jakes how to cook that shit. All right, and there's also evidence of that in Snowfall, man. All right, which is they often always say, hey, that movie is a relived or documentary of Freeway Ricky Ross. All right, and he told his story. They said they didn't want to use it, and then they end up using it and didn't want to pay him, so that's why they detached themselves from Freeway Ricky Ross, or real Rick Ross. But yeah, and in that series, they show you how pretty much the CIA, and he says himself, that the government pretty much assisted him. Okay, but in the show they show like it was like this one cat, but I forget where I read it at, but the CIA pretty much showed him how to cook that stuff up, man. You know what I'm saying? And but neither here nor there, Esau created a law to where you'll get years guaranteed for being in possession of crack, cocaine. Okay, but coke users didn't get that much time. All right, and which caused pretty much they funnel you in prison. And in the time of experimenting on Jake, they used to have laws to where if you're in prison, if you're incarcerated, or if you're in the military, then you pretty much relinquish your rights to get experimented on. And I believe they passed a law eventually saying that pretty much the approval, you have to be you have to give consent. That's what it was. It was like you have to give a consent. But then Esau, as being a demon he is, found a loophole in that, and use wording and jargon, just like they're doing the contracts to this day, which is why you need an agent, and the agent is low-key working for them or his own self. You know what I'm saying? We're in a society, like scripture say, when the wicked rule, people mourn. Man, you can't even look at a car. You can't even look at a woman. You can't even look at things how they are. You can't. Nobody get on news great. Get on TV. Hey, we got a new great thing going on, and you got to look at it with a side because this is Babylon. All right. There's no place of peace here. Everything is a trick, and you got to be smart enough to know how to move around it all fucking day, every day. People hitting your phone up, breathing and shit, hanging up, trying to scam you. You know what I'm saying? Like all and it ain't Jake low level scammers. We talking about these high level, because Esau could stop all this madness, man. Okay, but again, their society. Yeah. So getting back to Teman, man. Before I digress, they were using like Project Paperclip with Cuba. You know what I'm saying? And they was using that and they still do it to this day. They're still doing it to this day. Okay? And they use propaganda to, pretty much make you feel some type of way. But the law just pretty much help you get snatched up without due process. Okay? That's the whole point. Just to be able to human traffic somebody and say, oh, I did it because he's a domestic terrorist. Okay? Hire a guy, create a guy. All right? Or let not letting a good tragedy go to waste type concept. But just like this whole border patrol thing, one president lets them in, and then the other one wants to kick them out. Nah, that could be I ain't gonna say what it is because we don't know ultimately, but I truly believe, speaking as a man, that one president because they all working together. The right hand side and the left hand side, those are two horns, one dragon. All right, two horns, one goat. Okay, and like the scriptures say, they spoke as a lamb. Matter of fact, we'll get that real quick. So when we go into Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, it says, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth and had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. All right. And the dragon is known to be same thing with the serpent, is a cunning. All right. Slick, double tongue. All right. I'll tell you one thing. War on peace, but it's really a war on resources. Okay. Fork tongue. All right. But that's these politicians. Those two horns represent the Democratic and the Republic. All right. So that's that. So as I was saying, you got one president let all the immigrants in, and through the cult of personality and the propaganda, the people believe the lie. All right. And then you let all the Issacharites, Northern Kingdom in, and then once a new president come in, he says, oh, y'all got to go. What was the point to letting them in? Right. And I'm not speaking like, nah, it's just common sense. Why would you do that? It's already been accessible. It's already been this green card concept and all that. Why was it so imperative that you just say, hey, everybody come in? And then a new president come and say, nah, all y'all got to get out. It's a problem and that problem helps Jake unite, not Jake, but Americans unite. All right. But at the same time, they use them for cheap labor. Okay. And then when they're done, they then turn around. You got your president to this day. He's like, I'm going to get y'all kicked out of there. And he's using the Operation Paperclip concept to get Jake out of there without due process. Who said that they're going back to Mexico? We already know that they've been mistreated in the camps, molested, all kind of wicked things going down. Nobody knows. Nobody's there. You know what I'm saying? These people are nobodies. They don't have social security numbers. So you don't got, and it's the same concept because that's the main thing. It was a term that the German scientists said. They said niggas are cheaper than monkeys. Niggas are cheaper than buying monkeys. Think about that. Why? Because one thing, we are in abundance. We are a innumerable multitude, for one, especially the Latin Northern Kingdom. But this is mainly to Judah. Even they were in bulk. You don't got to go and ship them, put them in crates. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to sign no papers. You could just let them come to that clinic. Them same clinics niggas be running to because they cheap. Okay? Do a crime. Or ain't nobody going to miss his body. Just like the kid that got rolled up in a mattress. They took his organs. Okay? And to tell you everything's good. So then they can do what? Do their experiments. Okay? The measles and the vaccines that they're injecting everybody with. Why you think that situation in 2020, they was all in Walgreens in every hood? Everywhere you go, it was accessible. All right. And I'm going to keep saying it, man. But Jake don't know their history. So they don't understand the play that's being set in front of them. Okay. They just go with the propaganda because they don't know how to think for themselves. And hey, we're sheep, but the Lord lead us. And so if you're without the Lord and without that light, you're going to be subject to be tricked by any kind of wiles of the devil, man. All right. And using plutonium on Jake, nuking Jake up. All right. Torturing Jake, pouring gallons of hot water on Jake because he got the flu, amputating Jake just to work on amputating. You know what I'm saying? Just to show people the inside, and then turn around and say, well, they approved of it because you told that man, look, I'll give you this, and that. Doing skin patches, skin grafts, just to see shit, just to see an experiment, Dr. Frankenstein. Then you go into the military, all right? You know, them Teman advancing the military weapons, the nuclear bomb came from Teman. Okay? The same thing that got the whole world manipulated. The nuclear missiles. That same technology came from Teman, the Nazis, the nigger haters. Right? And the thing is that Germany, I'm going to look it up real quick. Germany made a claim that America was doing the same thing as the German Nazis. Nobody batted an eye. Okay? Because why? Jake is subjugated to Esau's propaganda because they full of that high fructose bullshit, man. So they don't know how to think for themselves. And they strayed away from the ways of the Heavenly Father, man. Okay? Yeah, so I'm I didn't have it set up, so I'm just gonna go, with a couple things that I have, looking up. I looked up Germany accuses U.S. of doing the same as Nazi, and then I put Operation Paperclip. It says in the AI overview, it says following World War II, Germany accuses the U.S. of replicating Nazi practices through Operation Paperclip, a secret program that brought German scientists and engineers to the U.S. for Cold War initiatives, raising ethical questions about exploiting Nazi expertise. And what was that? Pretty much just like they so-called did it to the so-called JEOOs, so-called, because they're not. They're from the tribe of Amalek. All right? They're not Israelites. But those that they did that over there and testing and doing all that to them, those same scientists the U.S. brought over to the U.S. after World War II, then practice on Jake. If they didn't like Amalek, so-called, they damn sure did not like Negroes. Okay? So they really didn't care. All right, and those Amalekites were getting treated decently. All right, talking about we was in torture and all. And look, yeah, nigga, like y'all have movie theaters and shit up in there. All right, but that's neither here nor there. You can't say anything against it because it's anti-Semitic. But to be anti-Semitic is to be against the line of Shem, which Esau goes through the line of Shem. The Arabs go through the line of Shem. Israelites go through the line of Shem. Moab go through the line of Shem. Chinese, Japanese. So cut the shit. All right. But let's get back to it. It's Operation Paperclip. This was a U.S. intelligence program conducted by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, JIOA, that brought over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians to the U.S. government employment after World War II. What is the motivations? The U.S. sought to leverage German expertise in areas like rocket technology, aviation, and chemical biological warfare, particularly for the Cold War initiatives. And not for no Cold War. Whatever it was for, they used Jake to experiment on. All right? Ethical concerns. The program has faced criticism for its moral implications, including the potential of exploiting individuals who had been involved in Nazi war crimes or policies. Now, the ethics was they was doing it to Jake. Why do you think the Germans said y'all doing the same things that the Nazis did? It don't make sense to say that they was exploiting German scientists when they say you're doing the same thing that we did. So Germany was exploiting. No, man. They were using eugenics to so-called to exploit a minority group, because in the concept of eugenics is just a pure Aryan race. Okay, when they say, "Oh man, he's so dumb, he shouldn't be reproducing," "Oh, he killed somebody, he shouldn't be reproducing." Okay, that's that pure Aryan race BS. That's why y'all catching Down syndrome, having all them kids with Down syndrome. That's why y'all struggling to have babies now. Because you're fucking wicked, man. All right? You made a pit and you fell in it yourself. All right? We're going to get that. So when we go into the book of Psalms, chapter 7, verse 15 says, he made a pit and digged it and is fallen into the ditch which he made. Yeah, because that eugenics brought forth birth control contraceptives, amongst many other things that is relative to birth control contraceptives. Because just like I was saying, when it first started, it primarily was aimed at Jake, but it spilled over into Esau. Just like crack, you know what I'm saying, and the drugs, that's why fentanyl is spread over into Esau. And even with crack, Esau was on crack too, but they omitted, and they try to use statistics. Well, 99% of niggas, you know what I'm saying? No, you're only arresting them. You'll catch a Edomite and let them off and don't record that statistic. So those stats are warped, okay? To act like Jake is violent. It's the same pitch. It's the same sales pitch because it was at one point we was hypersexually active. All right, we were sexual deviants at a point. Johanna, dumbass. That's a propaganda play on demonizing the Israelites, man. That's why when Jacob whistle and Esau jump over on these sexual deviants, when really you were just mad at Jake's sexual ability, okay? Because we weren't sexual deviants when you was using Jake to reproduce. Okay? We weren't sexual deviants then. We weren't sexual deviants when you was using Jake to warm your bed up and laying with our women. All right? We weren't lazy during slavery. You see how everything flips to their benefit? Pretty much when they do wrong, they have good words their words are smoother than butter. Their words are smoother than butter. Okay? And Jake don't get it, man. But in their heart, but in hands was drawn swords, man. All right? Psalms 55:21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were there drawn swords. Esau, man. All right, through his propaganda, his forked tongue, because Jake got to understand that. The war on terror, war on crack. We got to make everything better. Really, you just got an agenda to get round Jake up and put their ass into slavery again. But in a legal way so that you can morally say that you're cleaning up the earth. This is this forked tongue, man. Oh man, we need to shoot a rocket at the sun, or we need to use stardust to block out the sun because of global warming. But your ass steady running these factories, pumping all that shit in the air, man. Got Hemis out here, semis, dumping oil all in polluting the ocean with nuclear tests and nuclear power plants malfunctioning. All right? You don't blame everything on cow farts and shit. This is his double tongue. This is his forked tongue. Working. All right? And if you want to know what Esau's agenda is, just follow the money, man. Look who funded the eugenics. Look who funded BLM. Look who funds these things. These people aren't compassionate. They have agendas. All right? But it's all going to come to an end at the end of the day. With that being said, we're going to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honor to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessed salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth, sincerity. Shalom.